everyone! So I've been really lucky to be gifted 4 palettes by Perfect Diary. They're all from the Discovery series and I will be reviewing all 4 palettes as well as swatching them. If you like my eye makeup, I do plan on making a tutorial for it. I'll be showing 4 different looks that can be done with one palette, the Giant Panda palette, which is the palette that's most requested by my followers for a tutorial. So yes, I will show you how to use that one palette to create 4 different looks. From a natural everyday look to a everyday look with a pop of color to make it a bit more fun, to a work appropriate to finally this glam look. Anyway, don't forget to subscribe and like this video so you'll know when that video is coming out. I promise I'll work on it as fast as possible. Anyway, in this video it's just purely a review, so let's get on to the swatches and reviews, shall we? For all the swatches, I'm doing it over primer, which is how I usually use my eyeshadow anyway. Anyway, let's start with the Puppy palette. So I think it's really cute. I'm a huge sucker for the packaging. I have to admit this is my favorite palette, and I swear it's not because of the packaging. So at first glance, it seems slightly out there. There's, you know, these 3 really bright colors, and you may be asking, are they wearable or not? Because when will I wear a bright green, bright blue, purple kind of look day to day? But turns out these 3 shades are more of a highlighting shade, so they're great for layering and they're not that out there. It's great for a pop of sudden stealth color, you know, because it is a highlight, so you don't see the color popping out until the light shines at it. And you know what's really cool? Shy and Space Out are both multi-chromatic highlighters. I'm serious. If you've seen ads for multi-chromatic eyeshadows and highlighters on Instagram, you know their color shifty goodness and extremely expensive, but this palette has 2 of them and look how gorgeous they are. I'm really trying to capture the shift in my swatches, but it's really hard. In real life, it looks like you have fairy wings on your eyes. It's beautiful. I think I can even use these as highlighter and do an entire full face makeup look with just this palette alone. I'm not sure. I haven't tried it out. If you want me to try it out, let me know in the comments below. Curious as the multi-chromatic glitter. It's gorgeous. It's what's often sold as mermaid glitter or unicorn glitter. Team mermaid, team unicorn, whatever. Anyway, Curious is a multi-chromatic glitter and it's really pretty, but again, it is a larger, chunkier glitter. With chunky glitter, just remember, glitter is actually not safe around the eyes. And I know I like doing makeup looks with glitter around my eyes. I'm a bit naughty. I really like it, but you do have to be careful because if glitter gets in your eyes and it's a sharp piece of glitter, I've seen some people use craft glitter. Absolutely do not use craft glitter. You can scratch up your eyes. So if you want to use this glitter, be really careful. I advise not to put it really close to your lash line. I usually put it up here, so some distance. Not the best, still not the safest, I admit. I'm a bit naughty, but yeah. If you must be unsafe, do it further away from your lash line. Absolutely do not put these kind of chunky glitter too close to where it can get into your eyes and scratch it up. I'm sorry, there are 4 highlighting shades. I can't count. It's not 3, there's 4. I'm sorry, 4 plus 1 glitter. I'm sorry, it's just that they put Jealous over here instead of with the other highlighters, so I often forget about it. Anyway, so Jealous and Dreamy are the chunkier sort of highlighting shades, so they definitely glow more to capture more shine, but in real life it does look chunkier and more obvious. Looks great in photos, but in real life sometimes not really. And because they're chunkier, I do find them slightly more patchy. If you have the Stila glitter and glow liquid highlighters, it's sort of that kind of texture. So if you like that kind of chunky highlight because they are beautiful for layering over other colors, then you'll like it. But if you want like really smooth, beautiful sheen, no chunks, then you won't really like it. So love it or hate it, it's one of those definitely going to be polarizing sort of formulas. Both of these aren't just simple chunky highlighters. I just swatched Dreamy here. There's like flecks of pink, orange, purple flecks. It looks like a party in my hand. It's really pretty. And for Jealous, it's just like flecks of orange and red and gold. It's really hard to show it in swatches, but these colors are really pretty zoomed up close. I personally will wear these layered over a dark base. It will be really, really stunning. Another color that I really like is Passionate. It's the metallic color over here. This metallic shade, again, there's so much more. It looks really plain, but there's a lot of different colors in it. There's flecks of cool gold in it that's almost green. So it's a really pretty color. Now, one thing I do not enjoy about this palette is, as you can see from the swatches, the mattes are not that fantastic. I mean, I really love Active. It's a dream to blend, and it's a bit strange because it's the brighter color, and usually it's harder to create brighter colors. But the neutral colors, romantic, warm, innocent, and worried. By the way, worried, even though it looks shimmery on the palette, it actually comes off as matte. So those 4 shades I find are either kind of sheer or slightly patchy when blending. So I think the mattes need some work, but overall I still really like this palette because, you know, there's 6 colors I'm extremely in love with and I think are really unique to this palette. I love multichromatic eyeshadows and highlighters. I'm a huge sucker for them, and I realize they're really expensive and probably out of the budget for most people, but these palettes are relatively affordable. Anyway, this is a palette full of really gorgeous colors. So it's my favorite palette out of all of them. Oh, and of course, because so many of the colors are highlighting shades, which are great for layering. So the looks you can get out of this palette will be more based off the matte, which is a warm brown orange sort of shades, with this gentle, which is a good gold. I'm sorry, this is actually, gentle is actually good, but I kind of got lost because the multichromatics are so amazing. But yeah, so your looks will probably be those warm brown kind of shades, very wearable, with layers of glitter to make them switch colors a bit. Personally, I think as a standalone palette, this holds up. And as I mentioned before, I have a feeling I can do a full face look using this alone. Let me know if you want me to do that experiment. So if you're wondering, can you buy this as a standalone palette if you're a beginner? Well, the mattes are a bit hard to work with, so they may be a bit more difficult for a beginner to use. They're still wearable, but they do take a bit more work and a bit more patience. So I will probably recommend this palette more for the makeup enthusiasts like me who just want a bunch of really standout shades, because this is what this palette is great for. Anyway, let's get on to the next palette, the Giant Panda palette. Alright, now on to reviewing the Giant Panda palette. Also another cute packaging. I really like these animal series. With the Giant Panda palette, I again ran into the same issues with the matte. The white is nearly invisible to the point where I rather use it as a translucent powder, honestly. It's really hard to get any pigmentation out of it. Sprawl was okay, slightly difficult to work with, but nothing too outrageous. Shady and black though, I really struggled with them, and the thing is they are darker colors, so it makes mistakes a bit more obvious. But yeah, those are the 2 colors I really struggled with the most. They tend to streak and not blend that easily, but surprisingly the 2 green colors, Leaf and Bamboo, are amazing. And normally you'll think that the brighter colors are more difficult because brown eyeshadow formulas are easy to get right. The brighter colors are usually the ones where the formula is a bit more iffy. And so normally I judge a palette based on the bright colors, but in this instance, Leaf and Bamboo, the 2 green shades, are awesome. I really, really love them. My favorite formula out of the entire palette is Roll. It's just so buttery and smooth. If you can turn shimmer into a butter, this is it. It's just beautiful and a dream to work with. I really love Roll. I also think Taste is such a beautiful color. And normally these 2 shades will be the winners in a palette, but unfortunately, again, because this is the Perfect Diary palette and I realize they really win for unique colors, I end up really falling in love with Lazy and Sparkling. And normally, like, Taste will be a standout color in any palette. It's an olive green with a gold duochrome. It's just really, really a stunning color. if I saw it on its own, I'll be like, this is the winner here. I normally will really love it, but there's one standout color, which is Lazy. This shade is a black and purple, and I don't know if I can capture it on camera because the camera isn't doing a good job picking it up, but it's got flakes of gold and pink and bronzy glitter flakes. It's just really a dream, and this color is so pretty. I end up being drawn most to this color. So yeah, I mean, normally I will really go crazy over taste, but Lazy just became my favorite. But again, taste, roll, sparkling, I like it. Sparkling, just remember, it's slightly sheer, but it's okay for highlighting color. In fact, I do want my highlighters a bit more sheer, just so I can layer it over other colors and just, you know, have it as a subtle highlight, not a block of color. Oh yes, and of course Basque is another solid color, but again, there's a lot of good colors in here. I just get swiped away by all the magic. This seems to be the palette that draws most of my followers too. It's the palette that I got most requests for tutorials for. That's why I'm doing this 4-look tutorial using this palette. I do like it too myself because the colors are fairly neutral. There's some cool tone, there's some warm tone shades, but they all work very well together, so it can suit a lot of skin tones. So I do like this palette a lot. The black and the browns aren't that great to work with in my opinion, but as you can see from my makeup series, you can easily use this palette to do a look that ranges from natural everyday look to something more fun to something really glamorous. Again, for a makeup lover like me, I really like this palette, but if you're starting out, maybe this isn't a palette for you. Alright, so now let's review the Crocodile palette, which is actually tied with the Giant Panda for my favorite palette. It's really hard to decide between the two which one's my second favorite. With this palette, most of your looks will be a more glam sort of look. Not that everyday looks aren't possible, but really there's just so many gorgeous colors here that's perfect for a glam sort of look. It'll be a shame to use it for anything other than that. Jaw, even though it looks quite plain, is actually a secretly on a down low freaking awesome color. So at first it looks like just a brown shade, but when you put it on, it doesn't show up in the swatches, but I swear there's purple and pink flecks in it. It's really pretty. I don't know if the camera can capture it. Let me know if you can see the flecks. I was really struggling to capture them because they're really awesome. So I feel like this is a color for those of you who want a down low fun look. It's like, I gotta wear brown for work, so here I am, but you can't break my spirit in this office. Now, Ondine is a really dreamy shade. It's another highlighting shade, and it's a multi-chromatic highlighting shade. It just shifts from gold to purple to pink and blue. It really looks like you have a pearl on your eyes. And Dazzling is basically a darkened metallic form of Ondine. It's really stunning. These two colors are just wow. Acute is the metallic shade. Initially it just looks like a green shade, but it actually has flecks of purple and blue, so it becomes a metallic multi-chromatic shade. Personally, I think I like this color the most. It's beautiful, like, you know, it goes from yellow to green to purple. This is my favorite. And again, it's a pity the shade is here because it's really taking attention away from what would have been a winner shade. And that winner is Camouflage, which I think is a MAC Blue Brown dupe. Now this color is a true duochrome. The problem with a lot of duochrome shades is that the highlight sometimes is too intense that it just looks like the highlighting shade, or the highlight comes off easily so it becomes patchy and you end up looking like you have this matte shade with badly applied highlighter on top of it. But this is a true duochrome, as you can see from my eye makeup look. It's just gorgeous. It stays a true duochrome. You can see the reddish brown base with the blue highlights. It's really a stunning shade. What an amazing formula. Will be a winner, but I just get distracted by Acute and Ondine and Dazzling. And again, Submerge, Quagmire, and Jaw actually are fantastic formulas too, and they will normally make a palette fantastic, but there's just so many stunning, unique colors in this palette that I kind of forget about them, which is a pity because they are fantastic. As usual with the mattes, not a fan of the mattes. Mossy is really good. I really like Mossy. Again, I don't know what is it with the brown mattes in these palettes. I will think browns will be easy, but nope. Hunger, the black shade, is especially bad. But yeah, there's just so many standout colors in this that I don't really care about the mattes. Especially the mattes are pretty common colors I can easily find dupes for. I can even use my eyebrow powder or my contouring palette. So I'm not that bummed about the mattes just because they are common colors I can find anywhere. But again, for those of you who want a comprehensive palette, one palette that rules them all, this may not be for you. But for someone who really likes unique colors, I have too many palettes already. I love this, I really do. So yeah, I guess it depends on what you're looking for. If you're looking for really unique colors for glam looks, I highly recommend this palette. I really love it. Alright, finally, the Wolf palette. This was the second most requested palette for tutorials, and yeah, I feel a bit bad about it because this is actually the only palette that I did not enjoy. And you know I've been very positive and I've been really enjoying their palettes, but this palette I don't really like. And let me explain why. First, let's take a look at the swatches, shall we? So as you can see, again, the problem with the mattes, Defy and Fang, these colors will be better as translucent powder. I really tried my best to build it up, but I just couldn't. We have the same issue with the mattes, only this time there's no winners among the mattes in this palette. It's just Obscure and Deadwood are okay to use, not too difficult, not my favorite, but not that bad. But Arrogance and Nocturnal is just a nightmare. Nocturnal is actually a fun color. It's not exactly a matte. It's a matte black eyeshadow with holographic sparkles. It's really fun, really pretty. But the base is that really kind of streaky black eyeshadow. So I'm not that much of a fan, even though I do love the holographic sparkles. As usual, this palette does have some standout colors. Daring is again like that Stila glitter and glow formula where it's chunky highlight glitter that can come off as kind of patchy, so it's best to be used as a topper. It is a really pretty color though, I have to admit. Like, it's just this really pretty shifty blue and purple. Yeah, it's slightly sheer, so it is better as a highlight or a topper. This is a multi-chromatic shade, so I am happy about it. I get blue, purple, slight pink, and sometimes green. It's just really shift-tastic. I love it. Icy is also another beautiful highlighting shade. I only see a shift from purple to blue here, so it's not a multi-chromatic highlighter like in the previous palettes or in Staring. Fascinate is another gorgeous color that I'm really in love with. Initially it just looks like this black and purple, but there's flakes of gold, pink, purple, and it just keeps shifting as I wear it. I really like this color. And these colors are really standout colors. I will gladly spend $10 to get a single eyeshadow of these colors. And also Wonder, Dynast, and Scorn, they're solid colors too. They're good. And normally I would be really happy with this palette, but I'm not a fan just because I feel like there's 4 wasted colors. And let me explain. So Defy and Fang, as you can see from the swatches, they're quite alike. Defy is off-white, Fang is white, but both of them lack pigmentation to the point where they're quite translucent, and I rather use them as translucent powder, to be honest. On your eyes, you really can't tell the difference between off-white and white anyway. Yes, there's a slight difference, but overall, once you're applying it to your eyes, it doesn't really show it, especially when the colors lack pigmentation like in this palette. So for me, I prefer if they just picked one, and since Fang is slightly more opaque than Defy, I'd pick Fang. Yeah. So yeah, having two shades that are so alike that you can barely tell the difference in a palette. Not a fan. And also I find that these two browns are wasted because, as you can see, this is a cool tone palette, but these two browns are warm toned and they just don't work. I'm not saying that a cool tone palette can't have any warm tones. In fact, a warm tone shade can look good used with cool tone colors, but it has to be bright as like an accent color, not as a transition shade. If you want to add a transition shade in a cool tone palette, it should be a cool taupe or gray instead. And let me demonstrate why those two options will be better. So first, I just swatched 4 shades from this palette next to those two warm browns. As you can see, even though these are really pretty colors, next to the browns, they end up looking a bit muted and lifeless. It's not as brilliant as they really are. And now watch what happens in this swatch when instead of the two warm tone browns, I use a gray and a warm tone but bright orange instead. As you can see, the colors immediately come to life and they look much better, which is why I'm not a fan of these two browns in this palette, and I do feel that this palette has 4 wasted colors. So yeah, I do believe that they have some really standout colors here. The two Fascinate and Staring, really standout colors, and objectively the other 3 shimmers are fantastic formula wise. So even though I do have favorites here, just having 4 wasted shades in a palette makes me not a fan of the palette because, you know, might as well just keep it at 8 shades in this palette and not waste space. Anyway, that's it for my reviews. So in summary, so these Perfect Diary palettes are not that great with mattes, and strangely it's the neutral mattes that don't work that well. You know, the browns and the blacks and the whites, normally colors that are usually the best formulas out of a palette. Surprisingly, it's the bright mattes, the oranges and the greens that work really well. So I do like their non-neutral mattes. Their neutral mattes, I'm not a fan, but I like their non-neutral mattes. They're really beautiful, and it really confuses me because it's the colorful mattes that's usually terrible formula wise. It definitely caught me off guard here. Perfect Diary definitely wins for all their multi-chrome shades. They're fantastic. They're just so beautiful and to die for. And the amount of multi-chrome shades you get in each of these palettes surprised me. I mean, multi-chrome shades are usually really expensive because they do use a special pigment that shifts colors depending on where the light hits it. It's not like a duochrome where it's one base color with a different highlight color, so that when the light hits it, you see a highlight of a different color, which kind of changes the color of the base. So it's not a duochrome, it's a multi-chrome. It really changes color according to where the light hits it. As you can see from the swatches, it's just a very magical effect. And multi-chrome shades are normally anywhere between $10 to $20 per shade, so they're not cheap. So getting so many multi-chrome shades in a palette, I'm a huge fan. It's so worth it. And their metallic shades are just fascinating. They're like molten liquid metal on my lids. Really beautiful. The downside of the metallic shades is that a lot of them do come off as kind of chunky, which does happen with a lot of metallic shades. It's not unique to this brand, so I'm not hating because a lot of brands have the same issue. So if you're having this problem with the metallic shades looking chunky when applied with a brush, what you can do is to apply them with a damp brush. When you apply them with a damp brush, it removes the chunky factor and you just get this really smooth layer of liquid metal on your eyes. It's beautiful. You can also use your fingers because I think just the oils in your fingers and the motion of threading them with your fingers squashes the chunks off and makes it look really buttery and beautiful. One thing I really appreciate about this brand is that their ingredient list is solid. They even have separate ingredient lists for the metallics and the mattes if you'd like to check them out. Makeup products from new brands, a lot of times they don't contain proper ingredient lists, and that always makes me nervous because I think ingredient lists are really important, and if a company doesn't care enough to tell you what they put in their products, then that's a bad sign. So for me, ingredient lists are crucial, and that's why I appreciate the fact that Perfect Diary takes ingredient lists very seriously. Yeah, I've had so many products I end up not being able to review just over the ingredient list, and it's a shame. And I know some people think that it's not important to have the ingredient list, and I get that. I did my Focallure review, and I did mention that I wasn't comfortable recommending them because they do not contain proper ingredient lists. And while the English version is okay, the Indonesian version got a lot of hate, so that was a bit of a culture shock for me, and I realized a lot of people actually don't care about the ingredients, and that's fine, but personally for me, I'm not comfortable of recommending any products without a proper ingredient list, which is why I am so relieved these come with proper ingredient lists. At $20, these palettes I think are so worth it given the quality of the standout shades. Sure, I'm not that big of a fan of a lot of the mattes, but for me, most of the mattes are the neutral ones that I have so many dupes for anyway because they always appear in every palette. So yeah, even though I don't enjoy using most of them, yeah, and it does irk me that it kind of wastes space in the palette. They could have so many more awesome multi-chrome shades. I'm not too bothered just because I can easily find them in a contouring palette or even a brow powder or all the other palettes out there. So as a makeup lover, I love these palettes and I really recommend them if you're a makeup lover. But if you're starting out with makeup and you want one standalone palette, or you want to Marie Kondo it and have only one palette in your life, maybe these won't be the palettes for you. But even if you want a minimalist collection, well, you can always use a contouring palette for transition shades and so on and still enjoy all the standout shades these palettes bring. Out of the 4 palettes I got, I really love 3 of them. 1, not a fan, but 3 out of 4 is good. And if you do take a look at their website, please don't get turned off by their swatches, because I don't think they swatched in an ideal way. It was just, you know, front-facing light on, you know, the flat part of the hand, so you don't get to see the shifty goodness of the duochromatic and multichromatic shades. Anyway, I promise I will get the makeup tutorial videos out as soon as possible. I promise. Make sure you subscribe and like this video so you know when it's coming out. And anyway, thank you again for watching the entire thing, and I'll see you next time. See you. Bye.